we've talked about last week. So I'm so excited to introduce her to you in person. And then she has brought this wonderful, talented artist who's talented outside of Disney too. He does a lot of amazing things. But he does work for Ink and Paint, and he's going to show you and tell you all about it. Please give a warm welcome to my mom and to Antonio Pelayo.
To start off the whole thing is a building where we work. Our office building is right next door to that. But I'm going to tell you why that looks like that. When Disney first did Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, it was the very first time that anyone had ever made a full-length film. Before that, it was always short little cartoons. And I think you saw the video of Antonio. Did Mrs. Spector show you the Snow White video? Yeah. And so featurette, and it explains how he wanted to make a feature-length movie, and they all thought he was crazy because the cartoons were just, you know, a couple minutes long. So he decided he wanted to do this, and he was so successful that everybody loved it so much that he got the very first Academy Award for a feature-length cartoon. Did you show them that?
Yes.
They got a statue with seven little cute ones for the Seven Dwarfs, and I think she showed you that also. Well, this started the whole ball rolling. They made so much money on Snow White that they took that money and they bought 51 acres of land in Burbank, and that is where they built the studio, the animation studio, where it's still there today, where Antonio and I work. And he put the Seven Dwarfs on that building because he felt that because of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, he had the money to build the whole company. And he has them there going like that, holding up the building, symbolizing holding up the company. I thought that was kind of a neat story. Now, I want to know if everybody knows who they are, the names of all those Seven Dwarfs. Okay, we're going to start with the one. We're going to start with that one. Does everybody know who that one is? I had trouble with that one. I had to look it up.
Can you guys see that one in the top left?
Yeah. That is.
Let's see. Can you guys tell me that is?
Guess what it is?
Sleepy. Grumpy?
Oh, she's looking. She has to look.
Oh, it was Sleepy. I thought it was Bashful. But who said Sleepy? All right. Okay, and then the next one to it is who said Happy? Happy is right. I bet you everybody knows who that one is. And the next one is a hint. He has glasses on. Doc, that's right. And then the next one, I had to look him up. Sneezy. And then the one on the end is Bashful. And does everybody know the one in the top? Okay, so you know what's interesting about them? They are 19 feet tall. And I'm 19. And I'm trying to think how tall that is. Probably taller than, do you think it's taller than this? Who would know that?
Well, it's like 3 of me, almost. No? No, more than that. Almost 4 of me.
And they weigh 30,000 pounds each. Except for Dopey's only 12 feet tall. I don't know how much he weighs. 30,000 pounds each. Yeah. But he's 12 feet tall. That's taller than this building. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. Anyway, Tony and I both still work there. The ink and paint department is like the very first department that Disney had, and that's how they used to make the movies. Antonio's going to show you. We do it exactly the same way that they did all the way up through the Little Mermaid movie. Well, there's only 4 of us left. There used to be hundreds. There was like 100 inkers and 100 painters, and it would take them like 5 years to do a movie because each frame in that movie had to be inked on one side, turned over, and painted on the other. So there was like how many cels for a movie for like Snow White?
Snow White took about 400,000.
400,000. That's a lot. Does anybody know 400,000? That's 400, comma 000 cells. Now that's, well, we own Pixar, but that's all computer generated. What Department we're in is way before that. The way they made Snow White, the way they made, my mind is blank.
Cinderella, Bambi, Alice in Wonderland.
Pinocchio, all of them were made this way, the way Antonio's going to show you how it was made. All the way up to Little Mermaid was the last movie made this way. After that, they went to computer-generated movies. So anyway, what Antonio does is he's our inker, and he also does painting, and he does all our special effects. What special effects are very important to Disney. Like in Tinkerbell, her wings are made with an airbrush. He would take a piece of cell material and cut it out the shape of the wing, put it down on the background, on the cell, and airbrush it. Every time she turned her wings, they had to do another frisket. And also she has like a glow around her, and you take an airbrush and it's freehand all the way around her. And what's fascinating is her pixie dust. You know when she flies and all of the little pixie dust follows her? It was all done by hand. It was done by an inker taking an ink pen, which he's going to show you, and making a dot for every single one on every scene. And it's incredible the way they used to make the movie. So he does all that too. He does the airbrush, the dry brush, which is like on the Blue Fairy's hair. You would take a paintbrush and you would take most of the paint off and you'd go like this on the end of her hair to make it look like real hair. And you have to think about doing every single cell that way to make a movie 400,000 times. Crazy. There's lots of little things that Antonio does to make our artwork look that way. What we do today is one piece of artwork that we sell to people to hang on their walls. And what Antonio's going to show you is something that we're going to finish. I don't think he'll have a chance to finish it today, but he's going to take it back to the office and finish it, and we're going to give it to Mrs. Spector to hang up in the library, so you'll always have it to see what it's done, how it works. Well, anyways, I'm going to hand it over to Antonio, and you know, I understand you have a theme this month about dreaming big. That's exactly what he did to get his job at Disney. I'll tell you about it. Start with that.
All right. So when I was 16, I grew up in Mexico and came back when I was 16. And we used to live like 10 minutes from the Disney lot in Burbank. And I used to ride my bicycle around the lot and dream of me having a job at Disney, doing some type of artwork. And when I turned 19, I went to a working agency and they got me a job at Disney. And it was supposed to be a 5-day thing. And then I knew that they were going to start an inking department there. I asked the boss if I could apply for the position. Then the next day they tested me. They had me inking some Winnie the Poohs. And because I've been drawing since I was little, you know, I guess I had some kind of skill to pass the test. I passed the test, and then I was the first one they hired. And then the department where I'm at now, they needed inkers. They came and tested about 30 of us, and they picked out 3 of us. And that's how I got in ink and paint.
Because he said that he wanted it so bad and he dreamed about it, and it came true for him. So it could happen to you guys.
So we're gonna do the inking process now. So this, can they see? Yeah. So this right here, back in production days, this would be the actual animator's pencil drawing, and then it would come to us, and then our job is to transfer those lines onto this cell. And this is a blank cell. So we put it on top of the drawing. We wear gloves so that we don't damage the cell, and it also helps us glide our hands on the cell. And we still use the same tools that were used back in 1920. It's a dip pen. And what I do is I use this stick to hold down the cell because it tends to bubble up. And I also use that stick to help me get the ink flowing from the nib. So what I do is I push the ink to the tip of the nib, and then I'll start inking.
So watch how long this takes. Do you remember how many of these they would need for 1 second of the film? 24. So what he's doing right now would be part of that 21 second, right?
All right, he'd be finishing one, and that would be one cell. For the 24, for the 1 second. That's hard to imagine, isn't it? Does anybody have any questions? We're just going to show you how it's done.
I'm going to turn on an experiment. You guys have any questions? Yes.
I can't hear.
What happens when you mess up, when you make a mistake?
I can erase it. Well, let's say I don't like that line, I can come in and take it off.
You have to do it right away, right?
Yeah, if it dries, then I have to use this stick to take it off, like that.
And you know, you could get a whole cell all the way done, and then you clean it, and you put a scratch in it, and you have to throw it away. So the whole thing has to be very carefully done. We have this one piece that we did for the 75th anniversary of Disney, and it was like all the characters all in one. It took 3 days to ink it and 3 days to paint it. And it was so difficult, there was only a few people that could work on it. So if they got all the way to the end and they took 6 days to do it, and they put a scratch in it, had to throw it away and start all over again. I know, it's crazy, huh?
Yes.
How long do you usually take to make one cell?
You know, it depends on the cell, how complicated it is. This one probably would take, what, about an hour?
About an hour to ink it and another hour to paint it.
Right, so there's two processes. One, inking, like he's doing now, to ink the outline, and then the painter would take the cell, turn it over, and do the painting. So it takes a while.
Can you talk to them about the backgrounds?
The background.
Well, the backgrounds, like in that Pocahontas one you shared at your work, who did the backgrounds? The backgrounds is a whole other thing.
Oh, that's a whole nother department. They had actual artists that would draw each background for each scene in the movie, and it was like drawing a masterpiece. They sold for a lot of money when the movie was over. And the background goes down, then the cell material, which has the inking and painting on it, and then the camera would take a picture of that to put it on the screen. They had very famous artists that did backgrounds. One of the most famous one was the one who did Sleeping Beauty. He was called Ivan Earl, and his backgrounds now sell for millions. They were beautiful. They were different. If you ever watched Sleeping Beauty, now you can look at the background and see how different and beautiful it was. He was an artist all on his own. Got very famous for doing that.
So they needed a lot of backgrounds per movie also.
Yeah. They would use that, though, and move the movie along, and use the same background for maybe a segment of the movie. Yeah, so there's a camera department also that takes pictures of that to put it on the film. So there was a lot involved in making a Disney movie where you could enjoy it. Yeah.
About how many backgrounds would it take for one?
It's hard to say. They would take a background and use it for several scenes. It's a lot, really. Movie. How long is a movie? Like 90 minutes? Which is a Disney movie.
Maybe I'd say
About 90 minutes. Do you have any questions for Antonio? Say, look, it's already looking like Donald Duck. You guys get to have that, and then we're going to hang it up in the library when we're done.
So this is a lost art. They don't make movies like this anymore, although they're starting to integrate it a little bit more, aren't they? Some, no, not at all.
We did Princess and the Frog, but it was done on the computer. It was hand-drawn on the computer. Did anybody see Princess and the Frog? That was a hand-drawn movie, but they did it, there's a computer program where you draw on a tablet and it goes right into the computer. You've seen that, right, probably?
We saw that. Those of you who Skyped with Franz Vischer, remember he showed us some of his Olaf pre-sketch drawings that he did? And he showed us how he did that. Can you explain I noticed that there's black and red lines. Can you talk about that?
So the animator basically sketches at first with the red line, and then he goes over with regular pencil, and that way the red lines are not picked up by the camera. So that's the reason.
Cool. You didn't bring paint to paint, did you?
I did?
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, so you get to see both.
So I guess I'll like half ink this one and then I'll
That sounds good.
paint.
Yeah, and you see how they paint. Yes.
How many Disney movies did you do for ink and paint?
All the movies up until Little Mermaid. After Little Mermaid, they went to computer.
Are you wondering how many he's done? Is that what you're asking?
Oh,
So this
he's
is a
younger.
lost-
He's younger than that.
They don't make movies like that anymore. So the people that did those movies that you guys know from Cinderella and Snow White, those people have long since retired. So they brought this beautiful art back to life with the department, with what she does now. Would you explain?
Well, what we do now is we have a licensee that we do artwork for. One piece that you can buy, like say at the Disney store, and then we sell to employees. We do employee sale program that we make a bunch, like say 500 in the year to sell to employees. But what we do is actually take it from the movie. So we will get the actual animator's drawing, which is very exciting. Go to there's a place called the Animation Research Library that's kept everything, and we go to that sequence and scene and we pull that exact, like this Donald was from whatever, I could have been a short, I don't know. And
That is the actual original Donald Duck.
I'm not sure about that one,
Okay.
but what we do is, it's the animator's drawing that we take a photocopy of, so when we do our work, it's exactly how the animator did it for the movie. And we also reference material, all the same inks they used, all the same paints we used. We just finished a Mickey and Minnie cell that was from a short called Mickey's Surprise Party. You guys probably haven't ever seen the shorts. You should show them once in a while, Kelly. They're fun. This was from 1939, and it was Mickey was going to bake Minnie was going to bake a cake for Mickey for his birthday and surprise him. And she's in the kitchen cooking, and the dog trips and makes the popcorn fall in the batter, and she's trying to cook it, and it's popping all over, so she's on the couch crying. And Mickey wants to make her feel better, so he goes and gets her flowers and brings her flowers. It's so sweet. But that's how the movies they used to make. They were real short movies. They were called shorts. And they only lasted, 2-3 minutes, 9 minutes each, until Snow White. And then he decided, Walt Disney was what they call a visionary, and he wanted to make a regular movie out of a cartoon, and he started with Snow White, and boy, the company is still going, and I think it's going to always still be going for a long time. Really, no other studio does what we do, because we are the original ink and paint department. There's just 4 of us left, and Antonio's our only inker. We only have one inker, which is sad, really. So maybe you guys like to draw, and you can learn to do that. I mean, are you all dreaming big, like Mrs. Spector tells you to?
There's a bunch of dreamers in
Well,
here,
what are
right?
some of the things that you guys want to be when you grow up?
Yes. A veterinarian.
Oh, she
Awesome.
wanted to be that once.
Yep. Yep. What about you? An actress. What about you?
I wanted to do that.
A clothes designer. Awesome.
Who said that?
I see lots of girls' hands raised. Let me hear a boy's dream. Yes. SWAT. Awesome. We need that. Good. Yes. Yes. Huh? An engineer. Yes. An astronaut. Yes. A what scientist? A food scientist. Very cool. Let's do one more. Yes.
Wow.
That's another scientist. Yeah, we've got
I
some
love
good dreamers.
that.
So,
Okay.
you gonna plug in? Or
Yeah, I got it.
oh, okay. Okay.
Good.
So
Yeah.
this is his light box. This is actually from your work. You brought it, right? This is what you work on every day?
Yes.
So he's going to show us the next.
And then what we do, once it's
He
once
has
all the
one
line
that's
work
done
is
already.
completed, we flip the cell, and then we paint it on the back.
So the cell is
It's gonna take me a minute.
the cell is inked on one side, and then it's flipped over, and they paint it on the other side. You know, I'm impressed by what you guys want to be when you grow up. That's great.
Oh, good question. He asked, why don't they use the same side? I didn't even think to ask that. That's a great question.
That's a great question.
It's kind of hard to explain though.
Okay.
Because the line work will cover the union of the paints.
You have two colors coming together, and it wouldn't look right on the other side if you just, it would probably be squiggly. That's a good answer. So the painters are so good that they can take that black line and they can put two colors and they can split the line. So when you turn it over, it looks like perfect. But can you imagine putting two colors together and you turned it over on the other side? It would look kind of squiggly. They also have something called a self-color line, which is kind of interesting. You don't have any of that on this one, right?
No.
Oh, you remember the example that I showed you that I did that myself? Do you remember the front looked really great, but I showed you the back? Not so great. So, I mean, a talented artist like him could do a lot better job, obviously, than me, but that would be why. Who asked that question? Does that make sense?
Did you show them yours?
I did.
Oh.
And it's kind of sneaky because you turn it over and I look like a professional, right? Then I show you the back and you're like, oh.
You know, I tried it. I couldn't do it. It looked horrible when I was done. But Antonio taught her how to do that, right?
Yeah, that was wonderful. We did it at the studio. Okay, so I noticed that there's yellow stuff in this water I gave you. Is that a special mixture that protects your paintbrush, or is that just from?
No, that's just from.
Oh, just from the paint.
From,
I didn't know if that was like a
brushes.
special thing that takes care of your brushes. So this is Donald Duck's yellow.
Yes, this is for his beak.
And when they start painting, they start from the inside and go out, because you don't want to get your hand in the paint while you're trying to reach over to paint a color. And you put your sleeve in it and you come back and then it's all over the cell. So they kind of start from the middle and go out. Years ago, they didn't have this kind of paint. They had what's called lead-based paint, how they used to make all the movies. And it took so long for each cell to dry. It took 8 hours for the cell to dry. So they had like cells everywhere in the company, on shelves everywhere to dry. And it just took too long to make a movie. So they went to acrylic paint, which dries really, really fast, like within, what, a minute or two? Antonio? How long does it take for that paint to dry?
Well, depending on the area, the bigger the area, the longer it takes to dry.
You know, funny, that color's not showing up there.
Mm-hmm.
He's really painting with yellow.
And they have run into struggles because they don't make movies like this anymore. A lot of the materials are starting to be difficult to find.
Yeah. Every time they tell me they need something, I go, what? I can't find it anymore, because nobody does what we do anymore. We're trying to keep this legacy alive, this artwork alive, because I think it's important. It's beautiful, really. Wait till you see when it's all done and we bring it back and you hang it up in the library. It's really pretty.
Are there any other questions while we're watching? No?
Isn't that funny? It's not showing up yellow. Well, he'll hang it up.
And you've been at Disney for how long, Antonio?
23 years.
But he had a dream that he always wanted to work at Disney, and he just didn't give it up. And look at, he's been at Disney for 23 years. You know, I like the idea that you guys have different things that you want to be. When I was a kid, people wanted to be a housewife. Do you even know what a housewife is? It's somebody who doesn't work and stays home and takes care of the house,
right?
Takes care of the house and takes care of the family. So I think that's great. Are you guys getting ready for school to be out pretty soon? When is it?
Oh, can someone please share with them what the drama team is working on? Let me have, yes, go ahead. The Lion King.
Oh, I love that. Did they already pick the parts?
Yeah, oh, they're off and running. It's June 3rd, right? Yeah.
How many people are involved in that?
Raise your hand if you're involved in the production.
Oh, I love that. That's great.
Okay, good. Put your hand
Is
down.
that going to be during the day?
Yeah.
And night. If you leave your address, we can send you
Okay, I
an invitation.
want to come.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So can you imagine, you guys? I'm continually amazed that this is not even even a second of the film. That thought just keeps going through my head. All this work and it's not even a second in the film. And this is how they did it. I know I keep saying that, but I'm just continually amazed by that. That's just astounding, isn't it?
You know, something else that he does that I didn't say, part of the special effects, when this is done, there's a little shadow underneath his feet, so he doesn't look like he's floating in the air. It looks like he's on the ground actually, and he actually has to make a drawing for that, put it down and airbrush it on the cell. You'll see when you see the finished product. It's something that I didn't know they did, but that's what makes the cell look grounded to the image instead of him just floating in the air. Yes. How what?
Oh, maybe.
How does he do the
So
airbrushing?
at what point in the stage, when does the airbrushing?
Now tell him about that.
It's the end, the last process. So first it's the inking, the line work, and then we do the painting, and then the special effects happen at the end. Once that's done, back in production days, then it would go into the camera, get shot, and that's what we see in the film.
And that's what makes our cells so beautiful, is all the attention to detail. Would be, you know, the wings on Tinkerbell, the shadows underneath them to make them look tethered to the cell. Snow White has pink cheeks, and that was all done by hand with a China marker. One person would have that job, and every time Snow White cell came up, they'd have to take a little China marker and put it on her cheeks and blend it in. Crazy, isn't it? You know, I'm sorry, Kara, I can't hear.
You go to Disneyland? Oh man.
Oh, we go a lot.
We used to go all the time, and then school started. I know. When they were little, they probably don't even remember how lucky they were and got to go so often. We used to go all the time.
I know.
Raise your hand if you.
Antonio, somebody has a question for you.
Okay, good. Put your hands down. Okay, good. Yes. Okay.
That's okay.
Okay. Listen, Mrs. Peters has a question.
So when they would work on these movies like Cinderella or Little Mermaid, obviously there's more than one character. Would one inker be responsible for all of the cells for, let's say, Donald?
That's a
and
great
then
question.
Would inker be responsible for all the cells of Mickey, or would there be 3 inkers? Because this is a long job for one.
Well, no. We had hundreds, and I think whatever they would go pick up, they would do.
So it could be 3 people drawing the same Mickey for the same film. They would just have to draw.
Well, out of 100 inkers, I think they would. That was before my time, but from what I gather, they would be assigned that day to a certain amount of cells to get done, and whatever they had, they would do. And they would have. We forgot to show the instructions.
But yeah, multiple people would be working on the same character.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, whoops, fall down. Before a project is started, they would get these instructions. They would have an inking, we call it an ink call out and a paint call out. This just happens to have everything on it because it's only black ink line. So they would have a copy of the call outs, and they would know what line got what color and what section of the drawing would get which color. So they could all do them all. So they would go pick up whatever they needed to do that day and get the color call outs, and they're set to go. And they would we had a paint lab where they made up the paints, and they would give them these little jars to say, okay, you're going to do this scene, you need these little jars of paint, and somebody would make them up, and they were marked, and they would sit at their desk, just like he's doing. Like, they'd get a little box with all the paint in it. And inking really is paint, right?
Yeah.
Did you guys know that? When they say ink, it's actually.
It's really watered down paint. And sometimes, this is only black ink, sometimes when we do a cell, there could be 15 inks. So you gotta be really, really careful. But did that answer your question?
That was a great question.
Yeah.
When they were drawing the characters, same thing. There was multiple people, which is why they had maquettes, right? I showed them what a maquette was.
Right.
So the maquettes help them stay consistent with the drawings too, right? No?
That sounds good. I don't know.
Yes.
Yes, he says yes. Woo!
So I saw at your work, there's maquettes that are also painted. Does that help keep the consistency, or is that just for
Well,
fun?
the animators use them in raw form, no colored.
Okay.
And we painted those back in the day after they were done with the film.
Just for fun.
There was always somebody, when they were making a movie, there was always somebody in charge of picking the colors, originally, picking the ink paints. So it was a big production. We had lots of people to work on a movie. Today, too. I would say in our studio right now, at the animation, Walt Disney Animation, there's like 900 people that work there. And, you know, we just finished Zootopia. Did everybody see that? Do we know what's next? Okay. I think in November we have a movie coming out called Moana. Have you heard of that one? It's gonna be out. That's gonna be out at the end of this year. I want you guys to all go see it. Do we like Zootopia?
Okay, we have some more questions. Mr. Hahn. Do they still teach people how to do this?
Very sad. We had somebody retire, and I was told they couldn't backfill her position. I went, really? Because you just can't. Somebody just can't come in and do that.
I remember my mom shared the story that at Disney's California Adventure, the area over where, what's that area where they show, where you can go in and draw?
Oh, yeah, the animation building.
The animation building at California Adventure, when that first opened, they had all the ink and paint artists go, and they had a ceremony, right? And all the old ink and painters that were retiring got to kind of share in the moments of the screen. And
Well, they would show clips of the movies in there. Has anybody been in that place? You guys, if you like to draw, you should go into that at California Adventure, because they have a place where you can go and they can teach you how to draw. Really fun.
And it was kind of sad, right? Because they're watching all these
yeah.
great moments.
Yeah, it was sad because they were going, oh, remember that scene? And the paint got streaky, and we had to go get new paint, and it was interesting.
Was it Tarzan was computer, right?
Yeah, it was Caps, yeah.
At the end of a movie, they have what's called a wrap party. Have you guys ever heard of that? When, well, why don't you talk about wrap parties?
Okay. When the crew, they call the crew, which is about 900 people right now, finished a movie like Zootopia, we had a big party. We'd have a big party, and then they'd go rent out a big theater, which we went, this time we went to Dorothy Chandler Pavilion, which, by the way, isn't really a theater, but they made it one. And we'd watch the movie together, and the producer and the director, they would all thank everybody and talk about everything.
And the actors and
And yeah, and then when then that was over, we had a big party, celebrate the movie. And then we hope everybody goes and sees it.
But I remember when I was able to attend the wrap party for Tarzan. I remember she was when you're watching the movie with a bunch of animators, it's a totally different experience. And so you'll be watching a scene, and all of a sudden everyone will start cheering, and that's because that was a very complicated scene to complete, right? So they're just celebrating.
And then we always stay and watch all the credits because we all want to see our name up there. Our names are on Zootopia if you wanted to look at it again. When it comes out on DVD, if you buy it, if you go all the way to the end, we're at the very end.
It says Ink and Paint.
Ink and Paint Department, and it'll have Antonio Pelayo and my name and 2 other people that work there. Our names have been on the movies ever since Fantasia 2000. It's kind of nice they put us on there because we really don't have anything to do with it. We're just part of the studio. Antonio, I don't know how much longer we have.
Probably a few more minutes. There's some
I'm
time for the
to show what
recess.
it looks like.
Okay.
A little bit.
It's almost time for the recess. What's your question?
If there's a scene that has 2 characters in one place, do you use one cell to have both of them on it?
Oh, good question. If there's a scene that has 2 characters in one place, can you do, is it 2 cells or 1?
He's asking if it's 2 cells. It's always on 1 cell.
Well,
Okay.
Tell me, answer that.
Okay. Go ahead. It's always on 1 cell, he said. What's been the most complicated cell you've ever worked on? Or is it not?
Probably the 75th. It was
The
super
one I
big.
told you where they had all the characters on it. Took 3 days to ink that. One person to ink it took them 3 whole days. This one, when it's completely finished, we're gonna bring it back here so you can hang it up. Show over here, Antonio.
many cells can you do in one day?
It just depends on what it is. If it's this one, maybe like,
That's inking and painting though.
well, if it's, we don't really do that. We do either inking all day or painting all day.
Oh.
If I'm just inking all day, I'll probably do, I don't know, maybe 5 of these.
And I think Sherry can paint like 5, right?
Yeah.
So maybe 10 in one day.
Of this one here.
Of that one, because that one's easy.
Yeah.
So if there's
Harder
more
and-
colors.
And then when he's all done, he has to do the special effects on that, which is the
Yeah,
shadow, like
the
I told you.
75th cell took 1 week just to do one.
We thought
Wow.
it was 3 days.
No, 3 days just to do the inking and another 3 days to
Oh,
paint.
right.
So I was able to, when I came to the studio and you airbrushed for me, they saw a little bit of you airbrushing Jiminy Cricket.
Oh, yeah?
So that's special effects that you would do after. Okay, yes.
When you guys are done with everything, how do you guys get the voices?
Do the what?
How do you do the voices? How does for the movie, how do the voices come about?
Well, things I'm not really a part of it, but I know that they do the voices at our studio. Sometimes they do the voices first and they draw the faces to go
I think
along.
they do the voices first
Yeah.
all the time.
All the time?
Yeah.
Okay,
and
well
then
tell them.
they draw according to the voices. So the animator has to match the voice.
So see, I didn't know that. That's a good question.
Another good question. Yes. Why do they have credits? To give credit where credit is due, to say thank you to the artist, right? Like you'd put your name on an assignment, right? To claim it as your hard work. So she's asking why they
It's
have
just
credits.
recognize the people that worked on the movie that took 3 or 4 years to make a movie. It's a lot of work. And they just acknowledge the people that worked on the movie. It's kind of fun to see your name up there.
Nicole? Cindy? Sorry.
How long has Disney Studio been making it?
Since the 1920s, believe it or not.
Okay, so what would be the next step in what you're doing? Because you would just continue to ink it, to continue to paint it.
Yeah, finishing painting it, and then if it needs special effects, like this one needs a shadow underneath, then I would do that with airbrush. And then
Like
it's done.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it takes approximately 400,000 cells, is that correct?
You said 400,000 for Snow White.
Snow White took about 400,000.
Approximately how much of this building would that be?
Wow, that's crazy, huh? And they used to throw them away. Till they realized
That's hard
that
to
they were
hear.
valuable. Now a production cell, like this would only be when you go in a movie, that would just be one. We reproduce, when we do our employee cells, 250 of the same image. 400,000, I can't even imagine, but they used to throw them away. And then we had this one area that there's a tunnel between one building and another building.
I showed them that.
Oh, you showed you that? Well, I understand from the back in the day, they would just take those and slide down the.
With art on it? I told them that
Yeah.
it didn't have art on it.
No, the cells.
Oh my goodness. So
Because
Donald
you can go
Duck,
really fast on a cell.
they're sliding on Donald Duck's actual moment in the movie?
Yeah, until they
Oh.
realized that these were valuable.
That's hard to hear.
I know people that took them out of trash cans, and now they made a lot of money off of them. Okay.
Can you imagine? Okay, I think we're going to wrap it up unless we have any other. We'll do maybe 2 more questions. Yes.
Who makes Minnie and Mickey Mouse voice?
Yes, there were people that went to a microphone and talked.
But did Minnie and Mickey, did they speak? I don't think so. Did they ever speak?
Oh, you mean like at Disneyland? No.
No. Like in the old movies, did Minnie and Mickey speak? I don't
Oh,
think
yes,
so.
they
They
did.
did?
Yes.
Oh,
You should show them an older one, like
Yeah,
Steamboat
yes.
Willie.
okay. All right, last question. Who has not asked a question yet? Yes. Oh, who comes up with the characters?
The
I guess-
people, the directors and the producers of the movie.
Oh, why don't you just quickly talk about like the storyboard? Because when I visit her at work, you walk through these halls and you can see the storyboard, the layout of what they think the next movie is going to be. And like for Lion King, I would imagine that someone's job was to go to Africa, right?
Oh, in the beginning, they would go to wherever to get inspiration of how to draw things, how the people look. Moana, they actually went to Polynesia, and they interviewed people there. They took pictures. They saw how they dressed, what their culture was like, so they could bring that to make Moana.
So if I would imagine right now in your halls there would be pictures of the real
Oh
Polly
yeah, there'd be photographs of the people from wherever they went.
for inspiration,
Tahiti? I don't know where they went.
and then photographs of the actors, right? Because they try to make it. I've seen no.
Oh, well, that's just, you can say, this is the voice of blah, blah, blah.
Oh, okay.
But,
And then they start laying out the storyline, right?
And you know, when they start making a movie, they have an idea in their mind what the movie's gonna be like, and at the end, it's lots of times completely different. Because they change it as they're going.
All right.
I'm just remembering the old cartoons. So I remember going to see these Disney movies in the 60s when I was around. I remember you'd get a double feature, you'd watch 2 films, and they would also show the shorts between the 2 movies. But I remember that the shorts seem a little, I don't want to know if the word choppy is right, but you could see the flash of the cells a little bit differently.
So old. And I'm sure the camera work, you know, they have what's called maybe they did that on the multiplane camera. They just got so much better. I know it. You should probably show them one, Kelly.
Teachers, since it's kind of that odd time between now and recess, should I find Steamboat Willie?
Or, let's see, how about Mickey's surprise party that I told them about, Kelly? How about Mickey's surprise party?
Okay.
This is the one we just made a cell for to sell to the company. And it's the Mickey surprise party where she's crying because she made a mess in the kitchen.
Oh, that's cool. It just came to life. That's funny. That was cute.
So you guys will be able to see it when it's completely done in frame and you'll be hanging on the wall. Did you find it already, Kelly? Okay, here is the short that I looked at to find the frame to do a cell from. I'm supposing nobody's heard of this one, right? I didn't until I found it. This is called a short. Is it a short? But maybe not as old as what you're talking about.
We're gonna surprise Mickey with some cookies like his mother used to make.
Just think about it. Somebody just painted every single one of these things. Just like Antonio showed you. Oops. La, la, la. Should I point out the scene that we did? Which one is this one?
Oh, there you
The
go.
one yesterday.
Is it coming?
No, it's after she's done crying. He goes and gets her photos at the end.
Come in.
Hi, Minnie.
So notice she's in blue, not red.
It's okay.
For you.
Right there.
Oh, Mickey.
It's okay.
That's the scene that she did, that they painted.
They're
I
gorgeous.
forgot it was at the end. I didn't remember right.
What's the surprise?
Oh, something?
Something to eat?
Maybe.
Something coming.
Something's burning. Oh, my goodness.
Fire.
cookies? They are no cookies. I just made them. I wanted to make them cookies like your mother used to make. And now they're all burned out.
My mother used to burn them all the time. Yeah, my mother used to buy them all the time. You're my favorite.
Oh, Mickey! Big noses!
Yeah.
Okay. Listen, a couple more things before you go. Ross.
Just think, they made that movie exactly like Antonio showed you how to do. Every scene was inked and painted, which is crazy. This one was made for the 1939 World's Fair, and it really was made as a commercial for Nabisco. But now it's a classic short. It's cute, huh?
But that's why, did you see the placement of, they showed Oreos, then they named them, because it was a commercial.
1939. That was even before I was born.
All right. Teachers, do you have any last questions? Mr. Reynolds? I don't know, 10 o'clock? I don't know how long it's will try. No?
Okay.
What short was it? Yeah, what was it called? Mickey Surprise Party? Yeah, that was cool. I never seen it. No?
This is the first.
Yeah.
That's our new logo for Disney Animation. Come on, Ray.
This is the first movie.
Yeah.
So this is the first movie that Disney ever did. That's what's so special about this.